Thank you, Mary Jane. I decided not to tweet out that we're going to make a promise that you won't fall asleep in this post-lunch session. I was joking seriously that I wanted the session after lunch on purpose. And we have these nice, wonderful session objectives. But, you know, when you're dealing with this topic, we have a lot of anecdotal evidence, a lot of conversations happen. What happens when you get real evidence? Do we really know what issues are coming up? So we decided, you know, it would be interesting. What if we did a short survey? Did anybody see that in the newsletter a couple weeks ago? Did anybody fill it out? Thank you. So let me tell you what happened. We did that short survey, sent it out on social media, sent it out in the newsletter, and we worked with our partner at Drop Thought. So you've seen them at the conference quite a bit. They provided us a wonderful lunch. And they provided a wonderful analysis of our data. So we're going to present that data in a interesting format, and we're going to talk about what that is. But let me tell you first who responded so you can understand some of the power behind what Drop Thought provided us. So here's our basic pie chart on survey responders by role, because we asked what kind of role did you have. And you can see that we had a pretty good mix here, especially of admin, faculty, and our full-time faculty especially, and staff. When you consider the different types of institutions, the private versus the public, the for-profit versus the non-profit, you see the union campus versus the non-union campuses, because they each have their different flavors of issues, the types of courses they offer, places that are 100% online versus places that have online and blended, and people with fully online programs and those just offering courses. Types of institutions, again, a good mix here. So how are we going to present this important, interesting data that we've collected from the survey? We thought we would do this. We're going to have a little fun, folks. This is not your ordinary session. So you're in two teams. All right, so obviously we have teams, which means we're going to have points because we have a game. You can't play a game without points, because if the object is not to win, then why keep score? So what we're going to do is we have points assigned to the top answers that came back. In fact, we have, for the 96 responders, provided us 185 different responses as analyzed by Dropbox. We're not going to use the last 18, so that means there's 167 points available on the board. We're going to take turns, and then after you guess your answer on the board, each team will huddle and decide how do you want to address that barrier. How are you going to navigate that shoal? Each team will present their idea, and of course, we'll give you points on that too, but you're going to impress me on those. So, let's see. We will start with you. So let's get your team together and find out what they want to be their first guess on the board. And you'll get the next turn, so don't worry, we'll alternate.
What's the question again?
So the question is, what are the barriers to implementing QM in your institution? All right, so academic freedom came up 29 times. So what you need to think about here is real fast, some of the pieces that came up were extra work, support for our faculty, what type of training is needed, also reluctance for ADA compliance, how much change to a course, and also how hard. So as you think about those specific items that came up in the Drop Thought analysis, how would you address those questions? So I'll give you a few minutes and we'll report out for some more points. Okay, so here's the question. Or actually, what's your answer, I should say, not the question. How would you address this?
There were three that they selected. The first was to stress that it's about design and not delivery.
Design versus delivery.
It's not about their content. The second one was that it would decrease their administrative duties significantly. And the third is that they would use the first adopters, faculty that usually adopt things first, to sell the program to the other faculty.
So the coalition of the willing, as I like to call them.
Okay.
I call them the coalition of the willing. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, what do you guys have?
So we also talked about the fact that it is about design and not delivery. Didn't we? I'm not misrepresenting my group here.
I'll do it to them next time. I'll do it to them next time.
Okay. We talked about support, providing support for faculty
Okay.
around accessibility, around having the training, just providing them with the support that they need to be able to teach in the way that they want to teach. We spent a lot of time talking about the idea of academic freedom and people's misunderstanding of what it really means. And we didn't totally come up with a solution on how to fix that, but
Yeah, that's
perhaps
probably a good
helping
luck with
people-
that.
helping people recognize that academic freedom was not something they needed to be concerned about when it came to QM.
Yeah, you know, the misunderstanding of what truly academic freedom is, I've recently gone through a legal course where I've seen the three perspectives of academic freedom. There's the academic freedom of the institution, academic freedom of the faculty member, and the academic freedom of the student. And it's a very interesting mythology around all three. Okay, so when you think about that, you know, you talk about that. I think one question I hear a lot is, well, you're going to make me use a course shell. You're going to make me design my course a specific way. How do you handle that? I mean, especially with the academic freedom. I can do my course however I want. Any ideas on that one?
Well, are they teaching online without a course shell?
You don't know. Some may be teaching on their own because they started building a website back in 1995.
Well, then they have student authentication issues and accreditation issues.
Oh, it's free materials. Who cares? It's my gift to the universe. But those are important questions to consider, you know, when you think about that as well. So I tell you what, we're going to keep this one easy. We're going to give each team 20 points. What's your next guess on the board of our top 7 answers? At 41 points and a ding. Excellent. All right, so obviously we have some simple points here for the Enterprise. Starfleet or U.S. Navy? Interesting. Okay, so take a few minutes to think about that. Take a few minutes. So the issue is that faculty members lack some basic information, and some of the questions that came up often in the responses on what faculty are saying is, why QM? How do I do it? What is QM? Then the whole implementation plan, especially if you're at the administrator level. What are the standards? So the basic information. How do you provide that basic information to faculty? And obviously the easy answer is make them go to the Applying the QM rubric workshop. But let's face it, 2 weeks online, 1 day face-to-face, that's the next step possibly. So what do you do before that? So take a few minutes and think about how do you reach faculty administrators and explain to them what QM is so they have an idea without taking too much time. So you're ready.
We've got a fabulous.
So the Enterprise is ready to take on the Romulans and deal with whatever needs to be dealt with, right?
You got it.
Excellent. All right, so what are you dealing with here? What did you come up with? What were your answers?
So we have a multi-pronged answer.
Okay, and that's good. And I'm actually being serious on this one, not just joking around, because you got to remember, we're dealing with multiple campuses, multiple audiences, so sometimes you may have a union versus a non-union. You got to try different things to work.
So we're believers in letting the information about QM emerge by going to where the faculty are, focusing on how the elements of QM can make their lives easier and has other benefits. We want to be incremental about it, giving people little bits of information at a time, and we want to ease that along with food and drink.
It goes a long way. Goes a long way. That was a really good answer. I like that. What do you guys have?
We have a multifaceted approach as well.
But so did they. They did it first.
Well, I'm going to let the people with the ideas just quickly state what their idea was. So we'll start
Hand the
with this
microphone
gentleman.
around so we can get it on the video better.
Yes, one, pick up faculty from each department and pay them some money to come to training and get some of the trainings.
Okay, stipends are always a good way to do it. When you have the money, it's always good to do that.
Establishing through data that this is not just a fad that's going to come and go within the next couple of years, that it's widespread and other places are doing it. Yes, data statistics, things like that.
Okay, evidence. And I work for a college of nursing, so they love evidence-based practice.
We talked about the QM Roadshow, which I think you had hit on at one point, about kind of infiltrating assets, whether it's on the web, print material, just trying to embed some of the QM vernacular in other training. That way it's just part of the culture.
Okay.
And she mentioned that you make a web page, and you just, pass that web address around to all the faculty so that they can go and the administrators, they can go and look at it. Did we get everything, or do we have one more?
Well, that was 4 great ideas. That was good. That's 4 great ideas. I'm going to give you guys 40 points, but you guys mentioned food, so you get 50. Okay, so we still have 5. We still have 5 answers on the board, and it's your turn. So let's do a quick huddle, or unless you've got something already in mind that you want to throw out there as a team. So again, what are some of the barriers that you need to address when implementing QM? We got 5 still on the board, 5 categories of questions that come up. You're supposed to guess. Yeah. All right, what you got?
Time commitment.
Yes. The famous workload question, which you guys did remember from flashing by when I typed.
Workload.
So workload is worth 29 points. We had 29 people respond with workload as an issue. Now, what does that mean? The data we collected said that means that faculty are concerned or administrators are concerned with extra work or the workload associated with supporting faculty implementing a QM implementation. What training is needed, and I'm going right back into the ADA compliance again, the workload that comes under the ADA side. And I see what I misread earlier. Okay. Anyway, so how much changed to your course? Under academic freedom, I read the wrong section. I meant for standardization, by the way. But anyway, so when you look at the issues of the extra workload, the support for faculty, and the reluctance for ADA, and of course how much change needs to occur to a course, so how would you address that? So let's go ahead and have a quick huddle, think about that. And remember, they were looking at this from the point of view of not just faculty, but support staff and administration as well. They're good over here. How about you guys?
Yeah, we have a lot of ideas.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. Okay, so let's start with you guys. Consolation, what do you have for us?
Well, we had at least one faculty member that I know of that's gone through QM, and she worked with a team of her own faculty, her colleagues, to do this together. Plus, she got a little incentive, and that helped a little bit, a little Starbucks money. What else did we say over here? You said build it into the initial training.
Okay.
Right? Another one was to a template that already has some of the standards already built in, so the faculty doesn't have to deal with what's the button for student services.
So who has that mandatory training in place for their faculty before they go online? That's a really neat way to go if you can pull that off. Also, who has those templates already in place that are QM informed? I like to call them QM informed. That way it sounds better. Those are a neat way to go as well. What else you got?
Chunking. We had several members saying to do it in pieces rather than at one time.
And what do you mean by chunking?
The training for staff and faculty.
Okay, so break it up over time.
So maybe they would handle standard 1 at one time, standard 2 at another time. And someone said that she had a sleepover or something like that.
Wow.
We all had pajamas and a QM logo on it.
You know that's not. No, I'm gonna be.
No, we did have
I'm gonna be super. That's super cool.
No, we have overnight.
Stephen, you would be the one to have a sleepover. You would love that.
I'd love that. And the reason why I love that idea is my son, when the way he got his current job at a tech startup, they do these 48-hour hackathons. Now imagine if you could get faculty to commit to hang out for a 24-hour or 48 hackathon on their course and just go all night, and that would be crazy.
It was like 2 days overnight. They love it, and they get a lot done, and it's really, really fun.
Wow, that's cool. That's 100 points. Yeah. That's cool.
Take that.
That's cool. All right, guys, the bar has been set. Good luck with that.
This seems rather subjective there, Steve.
Have you ever watched Chris Hardwick's The Midnight? Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
You gotta start with being all of that plus.
Yeah, we had already thought about those things.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And from Colorado, we had edibles.
There you go.
Wow. That's...
But Kathleen is from Washington.
Creative thought,
We have pajamas with the QM logos.
Okay, well, we noted that implementing the rubric reduces workload because bad courses generate a lot of work.
So you're saying, but you're basically front-loading the work and making your life during the course easier.
Exactly.
Ooh, I like that, because you're right,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea, yeah. Okay,
Don't forget, it doesn't just make the rest of that semester, it makes the 7 subsequent semesters.
but you got to come back and revise it from time to time.
You steer the ship just in minor increments, though.
There you go. That's a nice selling point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got this economy of scale, because the more classes that you teach, the more time you save. That in a lot of institutions, resources come along with the adoption of QM. You might get some release time, you might get stipends, there's templates available, there's other resources. So actually, again, more work if you're not using QM than if you are using QM. And the networking opportunity, when you can talk with your colleagues and peers about great teaching through the lens of QM.
Which is not only for teachers, but for administrators and support staff as well.
Exactly.
Very good.
So those were our great ideas.
That's really good, but you know, that pajama party is still really...
Not quite as sexy
But-
as a pajama party, it's true.
I'm going to give you 90 points. We had 4 answers still on the board, 4 different categories that came up in this survey as potential barriers to be navigated. So, what is your team going to guess this time is on that board? Survey says...
All
See,
right.
there's fewer points on the board, so it's getting harder, so you're going to be a little bit more creative with your answers. So some of the things that came up, there were 2 items in particular that Drop Thought identified in this category. On the evaluation side, it was teacher evaluation tool in disguise. So you hear that as, that's what, but how do we address that? And then the other one was simply tenured faculty. So think about how you're going to address that, how you're going to address that QM is not these, especially not a teacher evaluation in disguise, and how would you address the tenured faculty issue as well? Well, I'm a tenured faculty member, and so therefore anything that evaluates my teaching doesn't apply, because I'm tenured. And that's how they see it as an evaluation. So go ahead and think about that for a few minutes. All right, Enterprise, what do you have for us? What wisdoms do you have to share?
So, of course, we're going to tell them that QM is not about evaluation, and that for those of us with the little QM coordinators on our tags, to keep our colleges pure, because sometimes some colleges do start using the QM rubric as an evaluation tool, and we just got to make sure that people don't do that. But telling people, even if it were being used as an evaluation tool, you don't have to worry, because you'll be getting fabulous evaluations if you're incorporating the QM rubric into your course. And you'll not only have good evaluations, but really fabulous student retention rates as well. And then there was the focus on peer review and collaboration as opposed to evaluation. And one of our people has this idea about peer circles. You want to talk about that for a sec?
So if you're familiar with the concept of a writing circle, it's fairly common. Sorry. If you're familiar with a writing circle, it's fairly common where faculty meet regularly to read each other's papers and provide feedback. Well, the same thing can be done here, where you're looking at each other's courses and providing informal feedback to focus on the improvement with the standards as opposed to the review with the standards. Make it more about ongoing improvement and development.
With food.
Always got to have food. And then we had one more to address the concern about tenured faculty. We know that tenured faculty are very student-focused, very concerned about their students having the best things. So we're telling them that, no laughing, we're all seriousness here. That, you know, given QM's research-supported approach, this is the best way to serve your students. So if that is their focus, this is the best way to get there.
Very nice. All right.
Okay, let's let
What-
the,
What does our consolation have for
yeah,
us?
our members say.
Confidentiality, that administrators or deans or head of departments don't see the process.
Okay.
Who had the next one?
You guys had a lot going on over here, too.
We talked about showing research as far as the parallels between the comments from peers and students, that this can benefit students. And so even if you may perceive it as impacting your evaluations, that the benefits of this will be far greater.
Okay.
And you had,
is to help people meet the standards, not to fail them. So that's a peer PD for meetings.
And the phrase I think you're looking for is the continuous improvement process.
Exactly.
We love that line.
it's already built in. Did we have any others that you guys remember? Yeah, and the evaluations may go up. So we're thinking, yeah. So it could be a good thing.
It could be a good thing, yeah. And the evaluation, when evaluations on a lot of faculty members' minds right now. I know in my institution, with some of the colleges I work with, they are afraid to do anything that could cause the students distress because of how the students may react to the evaluations. And there was a great NPR article last week comparing the student evaluations at the end of your course to the Denny's comment card. So if you get a chance to go find that article on NPR, I recommend reading that because it was a very scathing attack on how we evaluate and do the student courses. But coming back to about QM as how to help them, you're right. It's about helping improve the course. And you think about, and that's what we got to focus on. It's about improving the course. So if you go to the Sloan, or what used to be Sloan C, now it's the Online Learning Consortium, OLC, there are 5 pillars. The pillar of student satisfaction. If you can reduce that student frustration, odds are, like you said, your evaluations will go up. Okay, I'm going to give 80 points to, I'm going to give 100 points to the enterprise, and I'm going to give 80 to the consolation.
All right, we're almost there and catching up.
Nope. But I will back up your next guess if it's correct on what's on the board. So we're now down to 3 items, which means we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty of our survey. So we've got 3 items still on the board that were identified as categories of barriers or the shoals of implementing.
Stephen, we're ready.
Okay, what you got for me?
Resources, which
Oh.
includes money, time, people.
Survey says. So drop thought categorized this as cost, and what did that include? Well, obviously it included cost, but also dealt with compensation, because I've heard that come up a couple times, dealing with reduced funding, so how much to do more with less, how to calculate return on investment. I know I've heard that come up a couple of times from different institutions. Where can I get it for free? Or what can I get for free? And also, who pays for it in the end? So these are some things to think about. So we're talking about the costs associated with implementing quality matters. I know, and as you think about this, also consider a lot of folks get really concerned about the cost associated with doing the peer reviews. So that may be something you may want to address as you think about this as well. So take a few minutes and think about that. So set us up, Consolation. What do you have?
One was that we can actually reduce costs in the long run because
All right.
we're increasing retention.
Okay, we're increasing intention. So we're increasing intention is how we're going to reduce costs.
Right. And we're marketing, we can use it as a marketing tool
Okay.
to improve students coming to the institution.
And we're not duplicating effort, so if the rubric is, if the Blackboard LMS, if the LMS template is based on those standards, these different academic units aren't duplicating the same efforts, and that's going to reduce costs.
Okay.
The low-cost version, such as instead of doing the applying to rubrics, we do internal trainings,
Do the internal training.
And then-
In other words, like
self-reviews.
in self-reviews, okay?
Self-reviews. Yeah, and you have,
And if it does truly increase retention, then that's an increased revenue from the state.
So one piece of advice I was given years ago is tie everything to enrollments. Because if you can increase enrollments, that means you can pay for it. What you got?
So we had some of those same things, reducing
Of
the
course you
cost of reviews with informal, internal, and self-reviews. We had also gaining the competitive market edge and having the idea that it's not a short-term solution, but we're looking at the long game when we're investing in QM, so that we'll have long-term benefits. That actually we don't necessarily need to spend more money, but rebalance the money we're spending and redirect it in better ways. through QM training. And finally, for those of us from Washington, Colorado, we got edibles.
We forgot one more, I'm sorry, Stephen, and
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
one more.
accreditation.
Ooh, tying it to accreditation. Now, how would you do that?
Well, when accreditors are coming, they're looking for evidence of quality assurance. And voila, we've got Quality Matters.
What
And
does
that-
that have to
there
do
you
with
go.
cost?
Well, let's find out.
Actually, that was the way the faculty brought QM to our institution, and that was the only way we convinced them is we submitted to be an action project as part of our HLC portfolio. And that's how we finally got them to pay this.
Thank you for helping us get those points.
So we're going to give 120 points to the consolation. We're going to give 100 points to the enterprise, which gives us a current, well, actually not current because it is the final score, of 453 points to the consolation to 413 to. We're out of time. But we're out of time.
Woohoo! We tried, team. I think we made a good
Now let me
effort.
give you really fast. Let me let you know what's remaining on the board. What is 6 and 7? Well, that's what I'm going to show you now. So what we have here is the remaining items. Legitimacy came up as one. Is QM a legitimate organization? Is it a legitimate program? So specifically what came up was, again, what is QM? How legitimate is it? And also, how does it compare to other quality programs? And then there's always the famous, who else is doing it? Are my peers doing this, my peer institutions? The other one that came up was misinformation. You'll have occasionally faculty who just hear one thing about QM that's not correct, and they will propagate that. So you may have to deal with some misinformation out there as well. But only 11 came up in the category of the legitimacy issue and 10 in misinformation. This chart, again provided by DropThought, shows the theme frequency by the different types of responders, and you're seeing the administrators in blue. So obviously, they just a lot of folks just want to know what is it, but you're seeing that administrators are concerned with academic freedom, and so is the staff. But take a look at the full-time faculty, how that compared. That was a very interesting piece that I was not prepared to see when it came to academic freedom. Administration and staff was more concerned than faculty.
Workload, more concerned by staff, that's surprising.
So that's something that, yeah. And so as you look at that, that's another thing. Now we look at it from the point of view of the different type of experience, how long the responder had been involved in QM. So you're seeing the people in blue who are new to QM, they haven't seen as many of these issues, but the folks have been in for 5 or more years, you see basic information continues to be a major thing because you're going to have lots of turnover, bringing in new people, but the workload is still there as well. So that's something to keep in mind. When you're looking at it from the point of view of type of institution, this is the 2-year versus the 4-year versus the 4-year plus graduate school university type. So you're seeing how that balanced out as well. And academic freedom didn't show up at all at the community college side. So that's something to be aware of as well. I do want to do a quick thank you because this could not have been done without Quality Matters and without DropThought. This was, I can't thank them enough for providing this service. Quality Matters provided us this great idea. We've captured this data and we've captured your ideas. I think you may see these things percolate in other places down the road. But if it wasn't for DropThought providing us this quick analysis, we would have never been able to get this data out to you the way we have. So thank you all very much. And thank you to our experienced coordinators as your captains.